Hey, welcome back, guys. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. The app crashed on me, so we just moved over to a different one. So this is gonna be a sort of a two-parter. We've got up to pick six on the first attempt, and we're going to continue on real quick here with pick seven. And at this point, this is the only one that I on the rumor because the GM messaged me directly, and I believe to Yeet as well. Pick seven is actually going to be owned by Toronto, and with pick seven, I had Toronto picking one of my top guys were in the area of where I would pick top on the big board for me, Taylor Hendricks. This guy just seems to be like one. It's going to be one of those players that's going to sort of break 2K as well. And I was talking to Yeet, previously before we even started the show, said that Wemby is probably going to break this game, and the mold for big men is just going to be crazy. Taylor Hendricks just brings that it factor for me that Toronto has now as we speak, but may not have it after the draft or whatever. But he does have a nice shooting touch, defensive genius. I don't know about you, but I'm really high on Taylor Hendricks. I don't know who you had going at seven, but I think it's like one of the guys that I'm very very high on. If he fell to 10, I would nab him easily.
I I had Utah taking Jarris Walker at seventh, but looking at Toronto's roster and knowing what the deal is, Taylor Hendricks makes a lot of sense for that team. His raw potential, his sheer athleticism, his very good defensive IQ, he fits that team very well, especially if they keep DeJounte Murray. That's a very big defensive 1-2 punch combo. Um, but yeah, he shot up the boards recently too because he wasn't super high. Like at the start of the season, he wasn't a big name. And then I believe, if I can double check, he had a good back half of the season and like an okay tourney run. And yeah, his back half of the season, he averaged no less than 17 points a game, besides three out of the last 20. His shooting splits are abnormally good for a guy of his like make of like stature. He's near 40% 3 point shooter, 48% field goal percentage, 78% three. I mean, 7 rebounds a game, 1.5 assists, a steal, nearly 2 blocks a game, 15 points. I mean, those are abnormal numbers for the kind of player he is. You go watch him play. He reminds me a lot of John Collins, the way he's built. I think he's going to end up being like a better version of John Collins.
That's a
Is
good comparison, actually. That's a really, really, really good comparison. I totally agree. Like I said, it's one of those guys where if I not saying top three pick or whatever, you know what I mean, but you're right. He did not have. I think one of the earliest mocks that I saw had him at 15 or something like that, and for him to shoot up this high, he's turning some heads. That's for sure.
no,
So
absolutely.
yeah, really high on that guy. So at eight we have Atlanta picking again, one pick after, so in between the Toronto pick. Who do you have Atlanta taking?
I originally at 8 had Atlanta taking uh Hendricks, who I think would make sense for their team. But if Walker was still there, I think Walker makes the most sense. They kind of need a big man. They're Especially if they go and move on from Siakam, Walker. They need a guy with star caliber talent. They need to go best player available. It doesn't really matter who. I think Hendricks or Walker at the time would be the clear cut option at 8 for them. I think it just makes more sense. And then if they do decide to end up keeping Damian Lillard and Pascal Siakam, slide over Siakam to the center position. He's got the size for it. He can play that small ball five easily, kind of like a more talented Bam. And it's just another like lob threat for Dame if they keep him.
Yeah,
I don't. There's not really a wrong pick here, especially with like the three guys that would be available at 8 or could potentially be. There's no real wrong way you can go with this pick if you're Atlanta. Just go best
correct.
player available, and you can stick them in right away.
Now for me, I would love for me to be wrong and then him pick the way you want him to pick,
Mm-hmm.
because it means a guy that I'm pretty high on. I have him picking Anthony Black, solely because I was under the impression that maybe Lillard might be, on, like you said, Murray as well, but Lillard might be on the trading block for him. Um, but and you can't go wrong with this with Black either. But I am taking Anthony Black, which just means that he would drop if it goes as we've been drafting him,
Yeah,
which is a very good thing for
no,
me.
that's funny. I have Anthony Black as the next pick for Miami.
Okay, okay, and that's the thing with number 9. I have Miami taking Cam Whitmore, which in all honesty, it, it's just to talk on how strong this lottery is going to be for this year. And you're gonna have your misses, no matter what. There's gonna be one or two guys from this lottery, top 14 guys, one, two, maybe three guys are just not gonna pan out. We just don't know who. Hindsight's always 2020. But I had Cam falling, and I can tell you right now, Pete would be ecstatic. I mean, aside from maybe getting the number 1 pick with Wemby,
Mm-hmm.
for Cam Whitmore to drop to 9 to his lap, like, 'cause we talked about Cam a little bit earlier,
Yeah, I
and
had him going to
that to
Detroit.
Detroit,
Yeah.
and this would be just one of those, Jesus, how did I get this guy? But I mean, you can make a valid point for the 8 guys before Cam that we've
Oh,
already mentioned.
no,
They're
there's no
all,
doubt. You can make a valid point for Anthony Black or Taylor Hendricks being the fourth overall pick in like
yeah,
this draft. It's like there
absolutely,
is a one, two, and three are set in stone. Picks 4 through 9, there is a range. It can go any order, and no one's not gonna know it until draft day,
yeah, exactly,
and that's the
exactly.
fun in it. So
Well, but yeah, I have him. So you're welcome, Pete. If it does evolve that way. At number 10, I'm gonna let you pick because that's actually mine. I hold the rights to that Atlanta pick, so I'm picking at 10.
okay, so I originally had Atlanta taking Case and Wallace at 10, but I didn't know about the trade beforehand because I just joined the league. I had Atlanta taking Case and Wallace at 10. I would still have you taking Case and Wallace at 10. You need a guard. Your team unfortunately desperately needs a guard. Um, I mean, who was your starting point guard this year? Cameron Payne.
I had campaign. I started
I mean, he's
a
okay as a
smorgasbord
backup, but
of nobodies. Yes, yes. I did not have a legit one at all
in
this
Case
season.
and Wallace, I feel like is more underrated or Pete than people are giving him credit to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, clear cut number one point guard in the draft class is Scoot Henderson, but I mean, Case and Wallace had a very strong back half of the season. He's a very good passer, 4.3 assists per game, 3.7 rebounds a game, 11.7 points per game. The big upside for him is that despite him having a solid offensive game, he is arguably the best defensive guard in this class. 2 steals per game, half a block a game. He's 6'3", but he has a near 6'9" wingspan and a 185 body, and a lot of that goes into his upper strength. He reminds me a lot of potentially a more athletic Jalen Brunson. They're built similarly, as in they're bigger guards. They got bigger
yeah.
upper bodies. I think Jalen Brunson's got a bigger lower body than Kaysen, but he's also been in the league for a while, so Kaysen will have time to build that up. You just desperately need a guard. You need to take best player available at the same time. Kaysen Wallace, I think, fits both of those
Yeah.
bills for you. I, I wouldn't be surprised with the way your team is built if you take Kaysen Wallace and he ends up finishing top 3 or 4 in voting for rookie of the year for you, because you would, I imagine, start him right out the gates. And
Oh
between
yeah.
having John Collins and Marvin Bagley as lob threats and Mark Williams and Sadiq Bey, it's like you're going to
I
have
got Lane.
shooters, you're going to have lob threats. I think it's going to be between him and Anthony Black and who leads the rookie assist numbers.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I had in my own, obviously my big board, whatever. I'm just trying to see who fell, whatever. I had myself picking Kaysen
Mhm.
as well, and you had a good point a while ago. Not only do I need a point guard, but one of my deficiencies as well was perimeter defense, and this guy is just like, he's probably the best defender, backcourt defender in this draft,
You could make the
and
argument for Amari Bailey because that's what he was known for in high
yeah,
school.
that's his main thing. Yeah,
But Amari Bailey's and Amari Bailey's risen a bit on the draft board since the combine, but Casey Wallace is clear and cut probably like the best defensive guard in the first round for sure. I
Yeah,
don't see anyone being better than him. Anthony Black, I would say, is second, and I think he would fit well in Miami, which is why I have him going. But Casey Wallace is just he's going to give offensive players nightmares.
yeah. I like his fit. If I can land him, like I said, I'm not going to be
I
too
would love
disappointed.
his fit with your team. Just looking at your
Um,
now.
and it's a good segue because at 11, I have the Clippers picking one of, I think it's the first of their 95 first round
I
picks.
thought it was
Um,
112. I might be wrong.
but I have the Clippers picking a guy that I would probably, if Wallace is not available and Black is not available, I'd probably go with this next guy. It's just another point guard. That is my need. And if we were talking this time last year, we were talking about a top five player,
Yeah,
without a
Nick
doubt.
Smith was in
Next
that
would be,
conversation for top five. The Thompson twins weren't really making a name for themselves at the time. Kim Whitmore wasn't talked about a lot. Jarris Walker wasn't talked about a lot. They all made their names later in like the collegiate season, and whatnot. Nick Smith came right out of high school as arguably the most athletic guard in this draft class before
yeah,
next to Scoot.
yeah,
Like he's a freak. My issue with, and I have Nick Smith going to the Clippers second too because they need a point guard. My issue is that I don't see him as a true point guard. He's more of a combo guard. I
yeah,
he's 6'5", 185, so he's got a solid frame, but 1.7 assist. He's not the best passer. He's definitely more of a scorer. I compared him to like maybe a slightly worse shooting Kevin Porter Jr., but also
mm,
slightly bigger. He has the playmaking chops there. He could maybe like at one point in his career average 5, 6, maybe 7 assists in a season. He's more of a combo guard. He's
yeah,
not going to be your number one playmaking option. I don't think ever. I'd be surprised if he ever develops true playmaking skills. I could be wrong, obviously, but the Clippers as a team that just really needs a point guard
yeah.
or somebody that can just make plays happen for other people. Nick Smith's your best option right now if you're just looking talent wise.
Yeah, I just worry about his health. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a small sample. Him getting hurt and stuff like that, and it really elevated. Honestly, if we're not talking about him getting hurt this year, it really elevated Anthony Black's, stock.
Oh, for
Obviously,
sure.
because Black was not the best team on that. I mean, best player on that team at all.
No.
But yeah, that injury is going to be kind of scary, and I know that there's going to be a lot of NBA teams that are going to take that into account. But still, I think it'd be a good risk to take, especially the Clippers having, these many picks. It's not out of the realm of possibility for them to take the chance on these. Now, you want to hit, obviously, but like you and I talked about, I don't think they're going to keep these picks, not all of them.
I said at my mock draft as they have 6 first round picks. I did each pick in the mock for them as if it's their only first rounder because they have 6 first round picks, which is a lot. But then they also have so much young talent in the first place on their team, and they won't have a
Yeah,
roster. They won't have enough roster spots to keep all 6 players.
correct. Yeah,
Even with the players that they're going to lose in free agency, they still won't have enough roster spots for 6 players. So they're not keeping all 6. Where those picks go, we honestly have no idea, but they will not be keeping all 6.
oh, I agree. I totally agree. Um, okay, so moving forward, we do have the New Orleans Pelicans at 12. Who do you have them picking?
I have them taking Jordan Hawkins. Now that may seem a tad bit high for him, but they have Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is going to get paid
Yeah,
this summer. That man's going to get the bag, and rightfully so.
yeah,
My thinking for Jordan Hawkins is that Atlanta's not going to maybe want to pay him that upwards of 100 million that he's going to get. Jordan Hawkins is a solid replacement. His overall shooting is horrible at only 40 something percent, but his 3-point shooting and free throw splits are very good, 39 to 89% on splits for percentage wise. So he's definitely one of the better 3-point shooters in this draft. And he's also big. Was he 6'4", 6'5"? He can come off the bench and
yeah,
be a solid shooting slash scoring threat for that team. At 16.2 points per game, he can really be like a solid I can see him coming out of the gates of his rookie season being New Orleans six man. And even with the Luka trade, still, I know, having yet to be completely done. So
Yeah. No, I that's like so one of the for me everything below 11 now that I'm thinking is Nick Smith and all because I would take Nick Smith and Casey Wallace anyway. So everything like for me 12 to 19 in the way I mocked it are very interchangeable. I had New Orleans going with Grady Dick, one of the most dead eye shooters coming out this year. Just for that shooting deficiency, um, and knowing that he would complement. He'd be one of those spot up guys that in real NBA, a Luka Doncic would just feed. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah,
Floor spacer guy that's gonna because a lot of people just think Grady Dick is gonna be one of those. He's just gonna stand around like a JJ Redick or whatever. Not realizing how scrappy JJ Redick was, but Grady Dick's one of those scrappy players as well. But I can totally see, and I myself had Hawkins going a little bit lower to another LA team, by the way, and we'll discuss that. But no, I can totally back the Jordan Hawkins pick there.
no, I
I
thought
don't think
Hawkins
New
is
Orleans
more
would
of
go
an all
wrong.
around scorer than just a shooter for the team. I have Dick going to Chicago for 13th. So
Okay, see, we're thinking along the same lines and stuff
yeah,
like that. So, but good segue again to Chicago. I actually have Wemby's running mate going to Chicago with this pick at 13. A lot of there. I've read a lot of mocks and I've talked to a lot of guys even here at the NSL on Koulibaly and his stock rising basically. And you and I talked about this earlier. Basically because of these, the playoffs that they're still in or whatever. That these
he,
last playoffs and stuff. And
he's like
um,
this year's Jalen Williams, kind of.
yeah, his stock
He's
is just
him
going
and
to
the kid
rise.
from Belmont, whose name we still can't remember for the life.
That Brandon guy.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He's good. Don't get me wrong. This is, I think, probably going to be our biggest difference in players mocked. I have Call Bailey mocked like 23, 24. I have to go back and look.
And I can see that. I totally can. Yeah,
He's got the talent. He's one of the younger players in the draft. His numbers don't particularly stand out. I mean, they're solid. I mean, 11 points per game, 4 rebounds,
yeah,
a steal and a half, 35% from three, 53% field goal percentage, 72.5 on free throws. I mean, his per 36 steals is going to be 2.5. The thing is that his name only really started to rise within the last month with the French National League playoffs,
yeah,
where he started to finally start coming out of Wembanyama's shadow. I think people are hopping on his bandwagon a little too quickly. Obviously, I would hope to be proved wrong because you want to see these kids succeed, but
yeah.
it
And when you're going through those
it
numbers,
seems way too sudden for
yeah,
him to
yeah,
rise to the lottery after like 2 weeks of his name coming up.
yeah. And I just don't know how much of that is of the factor of Wemby being his teammate. How much of those numbers were inflated because Wemby, demanded two, sometimes three defenders on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So how much of that is? I mean, you're absolutely right. It's. I mean, I honestly, I've done 3 mocks. So I've written down, and I had Koulibaly. This is the highest I actually had him, but I've had him as low as 29. You know what I mean? So I can totally see. It's just going to be, I guess, preference with these guys with the NSL. Somebody's going to reach. There's going to be a name in the first round here that you and I don't even mention. That there's going to be a second rounder that we mocked in the second round. That's going to be a first rounder. That's just the way that's the
yeah.
way it
No,
happens.
I had Grady Dick for Chicago for 13th just because they don't have a real shooter on the team. They have a bunch of shot tuckers. I said that's like Trey Jones, Cam Thomas, Malik Monk. All those guys are like they're not the best spot up shooters, but they're good players to go get their own shot or get their own basket.
Yeah,
Chicago, people are tend to be. I feel like some people forgot that they said publicly that they're trading Anthony Davis. Um, whether or not a deal is in the works, I can't say. But I just know that the potential return that they're going to get for an 80 trade, if or when it happens, the Chicago in our league might make the playoffs next year, and I wouldn't entirely be surprised because they'll have one or two solid star players, and then he'll have a really good supporting cast. I like Dick. I think he's the best pure shooter in the draft. I think he's one of the best defenders in the draft. Um, I think he has the potential to be like a prime Danny Green, running around the court,
That's a
lot
good
of
one.
shooting,
Yeah.
great defense. I mean, what he averaged, what did I put? 1.4 steals per game on
Hmm.
14 points per game, 5 rebounds a game on 40% from three. And the way he plays, you go watch him play. He runs around. He doesn't dribble a lot. He will run around. He can, but he will
Scrappy.
run around
Yeah.
and like look for just try to get open. He's a
Yep.
catch and shoot guy like Clay or Danny. He's not going to go look for his own shot. He's
Right.
good at finding the open spots to get that shot.
The best comparison I had when they were talking about it was a mock I was listening to one time, and I'm a big Kansas fan. I went to A&M myself, but I'm a big Kansas fan when it comes to basketball. Um, but they compared him to last year's riser too. His well, they weren't teammates, but Christian Brown. You know what I mean? One of those guys. Like,
Yeah.
look what he's doing now for Denver. You know
Oh,
what I
I
mean?
love Christian Brown.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's
I love
awesome.
his play, and another Kansas guy. So anyway, we got 14, pick 14, another Clippers pick. Who do you have him getting at 14?
I have them taking Keontae George, the kid from Baylor, who you faked had me taking first
Yeah, yeah. I was like,
overall.
you must be disappointed here.
Super disappointed. Go to bench score. Simple as that. 15.3 points per game on 36, 34, and 80% shooting splits. Um, that's kind of what they need. I mean, if I let me go look at their roster real quick, but they kind of need like a pure go-to bench scorer. I don't know if they entirely have that. They have who was it? They got Trey Murphy, Benedict Mathurin. I mean, those guys start RJ, Jalen. None of
Yeah,
them are like you got to get that heater off the bench, kind of like a Jordan Clarkson type player, where it's just like somebody you go, you plug him in, and he's gonna go
yeah,
get you like rattle off 8 straight points, 10 straight points. Keontae George can go do that, and he's big too, 6'5", 200.
solid guy.
He's got like a solid frame, so he can
Yeah,
bump around with guys. I think he makes the most sense if the Clippers want to go get scoring. I think this you can do this and still go best player available at 11 for them.
yeah, yeah. I had them going a bigger guy just because I would love to see, and not starter minutes maybe, but Paulo Banchero playing alongside Derek Lively. I think, like I said, we discussed this. I think 2K is gonna the game's gonna be broken next year. I can almost
Mhm.
I just feel that with the big men and Lively being he's shooting up mocks. He's a defensive well, obviously with he's a
He
7'1" guy. I think his the wingspan was 7'5", I believe.
yeah,
Could be wrong on
somewhere
that
around
one,
that.
but
Um,
guy can shoot a three.
that's the big reason why he's shooting up jacks.
Yeah,
His shooting percentage when he was in college was 15.4%. He never hit more than 1 3 in a game, and he hit a total of 1 2 on the season.
yeah,
But after that, he's had a couple of private workout sessions for teams, and he showed off his 3 point shooting skill there. And teams came away, from what I read, very impressed by it because he didn't show it off in college, but teams knew he could shoot from his AAU and high school days. That he was a
yeah,
very good shooter in high school, he's a very good shooter in AAU. Didn't show when he was at Duke, but that's because you had like you just had other big time guys there, like Whitehead
yeah.
and whatnot, for example. So he never really had the chance or the need to go shoot. If the 3 point shooting that he's shown to these scouts and teams in these practices that he's had with them can stick when he comes into the league, the argument will be made 5 years down the line that he should have been a top 10 pick, which is where he
Oh yeah,
originally was in mocks like 2 or 3 years ago. He is good. Besides that, he is good. His numbers don't pop out, but it's 2.4 blocks per game. That pops out
yep,
a lot. That's one of the top in the country. Um, he's going to be good. And
yeah,
I had him going 17th to the Rockets, having him go 15th, 14th to the Clippers, putting him next to Paolo, putting Paolo at the four, let him, like, he's a more natural power forward anyway, just with the way he moves around. that's a scary front court combo, and I would love that.
It will rival yours, your Jabari and Wemby.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we ain't there just yet.
Yeah.
Not with who I got coming back from my cat trade I have set up. I
Okay,
don't think
that's
anyone's rivaling that
nah. It's
besides
gonna be a
maybe
solid team.
Washington.
That's for sure. It's gonna be a solid team. All right, we got that. So that's the end of the
Lottery.
lottery for the NSL.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to run these 15 through 30 a little bit faster. We're already at the 25 mark right now. But let's still let's do some commentary on it.
Yeah,
At 15, um, I have Detroit selecting Miller and
Leonard Miller.
yeah, Leonard Miller. I'm sorry, yeah, Leonard Miller. Miller. He is now, like one of those guys that just recently shot up as well, um, on these mocks, based on, and I know you and I were talking about that earlier about some of these G League guys that they're Amin and Alsor or whatever. Like who else
Mm-hmm.
was one of the guys that shot up? But Leonard Miller is one of those freak players. Like I can't describe it any other way.
You having Miller at 15 doesn't surprise me at all because I've been watching him since last year. This is his second year with the G League Ignite. He played for them last year. He tested the draft waters, put his name in it, went to the combine, didn't like what he heard back from teams and scouts, decided to go do the G League one more year, averaged like 17 and 11 despite the way he plays, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I have him going 21st to Cleveland, just because I think for them, best player available at the time would make sense. For me, Detroit, I have them taking Jalen Hood Shafino, the point guard from Indiana. They don't have a real point guard. Detroit doesn't have a real
Yeah.
point guard off the bench. And then, I mean, their only two real like playmaking guards they have are Simons and Mitchell. And so getting a good playmaking guard off the bench that takes some of that load off their shoulders and letting them be
Mm-hmm.
like more natural scorers that they are would help them. So that's who I got for Detroit.
Yeah, and I'm a real big Hood Schifino fan. You and I talked a
Yeah.
little bit before we started the pod, and I have unfortunately have Hood Schifino going really low in this mock, but I was just basing it off of what I thought was neat, and again, not knowing any rumors on trades or whatever. So, but I could literally see Hood Schifino there helping out Detroit as well, definitely. At 16, we have the Lakers. Who you have them taking?
I got Kobe Buffkin. From what I've been told from sources that have told me, the Lakers are looking to make a lot of moves. They may have some moves lined up already, and a lot of these moves could end up depleting their bench. Kobe
Mm-hmm.
Cockburn can, if they keep
Justin's
quickly.
always active.
Yeah, no, he's always active. I've talked
Yeah.
to him about it. I'm talking to him about a specific player right now who I've talked to everybody in the league about. So,
Okay.
yeah, he no longer plays. Um, um, Kobe Cockburn, if the Lakers keep quickly, that's a good 1-2 scoring punch. That's like a potential 30 points per game off your bench from just those two guys alone. He's big. He can score. He can shoot. All around game. Solid defensively. There's no real big gaping hole in his game. I think he's just a solid player to replenish that bench with the potential trades he has lined up. I
Yeah.
think he'd be a solid
I
replacement.
yeah, I do agree. Now, I had them taking Jordan Hawkins, who came off the board a little bit earlier
Mm-hmm.
with your pick and all that. But no, I can definitely see that. Them having that pick, definitely, it's something that's going to help Justin um, in the now. You know what I mean? He's NBA ready, so definitely am high on him too. And this is just about right where he's gonna land.
He's going to land
16.
some. Yeah, no, he'll
Yeah,
he'll land somewhere in this range. Same
yeah.
for Hawkins. They'll be in this range probably.
Nah, but he's like I said, man, he's one of those cerebral guards. You know what I mean? And he's got good size, so I can't argue that at all,
Mm-hmm.
at all, at all. At 17, I have Houston. This is where I have Keontae George coming off the board. I know he was picked a little bit higher up with your pick,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, I just saw something that could help Houston in the now. Again, we talked about Keontae when you made the choice a while ago. NBA ready body, another one of those cerebral players and stuff, and he was now this time last year he was talking. They were talking about him as top 10. He can still go in the lottery. I think
Yeah, I would not be surprised in the slightest if
at all,
he goes in the lottery.
at all, at all, at all. At 18, we have yet another Clippers. Now here's the thing, guys. This is gonna be a run
Skip
of
another.
Clippers picks here. They got 18, 19, and 20. So who do you have them taking with their first of the three?
Uh, well, first off, for Houston, real quick, I had Lively just because they have no
Oh,
real
live,
backup.
sorry.
They have no real backup center behind
Right.
Jokic, so Lively makes sense there. 18, I had for their first of three picks in a row. I had Bryce Senabon, the kid from Ohio State. Uh, Go Buckeyes! I'm an Ohio State fan, so um,
Nice.
just solid wing player. Have him off the bench. He's got a 7 foot wingspan. No, he doesn't. I'm looking at the wrong guy. Um, he's got solid shooting splits though. 48%, 40.5% from three, 83% on free throws. He can be a backup wing right off the bench, especially with Grant and Oubre both being free agents this season. He could, if he doesn't want to go pay him, Bryce would be an easy replacement,
Oh yeah,
hands down.
yeah. And I have them swapped, man. I actually have Buffkin going here. Um, at the 18. We're still talking about 18. That's right. Yes, I've actually, and I'll announce it in a little bit, but I have Sensabaugh going still to the Clippers on the next pick. But this is where I slotted Buffkin. I think you can't go wrong. He's taking a point guard, then taking a wing. So bring us up to 19. Their next pick, Clippers. Like I said, I have them taking Sensabaugh here in this pick.
I have them taking Chris Murray, Keegan's
Oh,
brother.
dead shooter too. Dead,
Good
dead eye.
shooter, 6 foot
Yep.
9, 7 foot wingspan, can score. Very good defensive player. He's very similar skilled like his brother. Maybe just doesn't have it all as put together
Yeah.
like his brother Keegan. But again, you take Chris Murray, that's your Jeremy Grant replacement.
Oh,
Doesn't
yeah,
have
without
the
a
handles
doubt.
like
And
Grant, but that's your Jeremy Grant replacement. Straight, simple, no more explanation needed.
yeah. But yeah, he's not Keegan, but no knock on Chris. And Chris is an NBA player, NBA ready player,
He has one of the
for
highest
sure.
scoring averages out of the entire draft class at 20
Yep.
something points per game.
He's phenomenal. And so they're the third of the three at 20. Who do you have them taking?
I have them taking Gregory Jackson, GG Jackson, the power forward out of South Carolina. I'm super high on him. He started out the season as a potential top 10 pick, potential top 5 pick. Middle and second half of the season didn't have the best run, so it's dropping down to 20th. I think it's a mistake. I still think he's a top 10 talent because he is uber athletic. The way he plays as a big man is not seen often,
Hmm.
but the way he plays and how his body is built, it fits right. It's like if it was a smaller, faster Joel Embiid. I guess is kind of the best way to put it. He can shoot the ball. He's a solid rebounder, solid shot blocker, solid defensive player. I mean, he's going to come in. You take him at 20th. I feel like you could still start him right away, day one. And then the idea of putting him, who's the Clippers roster again? The idea
Bankero.
of putting him next to Bankero, and then as maybe like a small ball 5, I feel like you could definitely play him as. That's a scary 1-2.
Yeah,
That's a scary 1-2. That's like that would be super super athletic between the two.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like when I was saying earlier, imagine another big by Bankero. And if you remember at 14, I have them taking Lively. So you're right. You switch out Lively with GG Jackson. And I'm really big on GG Jackson, not only because he's the youngest player coming out in this draft, but he like athletic freak. Um, has kind of fallen off, so to speak. Um, but for whatever reason, you and I were talking about earlier, like there's not even a reason why. Like I can't think of anything negative in the press.
Yeah,
Bad games. Like why is he
his
why is he slotted
his averages
past
went down a
15?
bit towards the back half of the season,
Yeah,
but I didn't think it was enough to drop him out of the lottery, out of the teens entirely.
yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, and then the thing is with me, I have him slotted even lower than this right now. But like I said, because I had them taking Lively, so he's going. And the funny thing is, one of the other picks we had, he's going to a different LA team in my mock.
Yeah.
But at 20, I have them taking Ryan Rupert. It's one of those scrappy guys, good shooter.
I
I mean,
like
I
him.
don't
I
think you can
like
go
his
wrong with him.
size. He's got good shooting. I
Hmm.
definitely like him.
Yeah, yeah. 21, we got Cleveland. This is where I have them, and in all honesty, I think Shams would probably like this pick if he fell. Shams more than likely he's not going to fall this far, but you're going to get somebody good anyway, Shams. But this is where I have Huchefino coming out for Cleveland. Like I said, it's a major drop. I'm more than sure in the NBA he's going to go. He might go lottery, but he's going to go in the teens. In the NSL, it might follow suit, might be the same thing. But I do have him going at 21 to Cleveland.
This is where I have Leonard Miller. Now I know I was singing his praises earlier, and I am still super high on the kid, but it, between his apparently poor performance last season and not getting the good reports back from the combine, and then going back and having a great season this year, he's still super raw. I mean, he's still got to put everything together. His shooting
Mm-hmm.
numbers are not the best. His 3 point shooting is not the best. But I mean, still for his frame at 6'9", 6'10", averaging like 17 and 11 rebounds and like a near 200-pound frame. So he's not like a big. He's not built big. I like the pick. I think whoever picks Leonard Miller, I just look past everything, just look at him as best player available. I think whoever has the 21st pick should go best player available. And the reason I say whoever is because rumor has it Cleveland is not keeping this pick.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to a certain rival. So
Wow. And when you're dealing with your rivals, man, that's got to be something, right?
it's going to a certain rival.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Now, but like I said, that can't go wrong with that pick at all. 22, we have Boston. Who you have them picking?
I got him taking Jet Howard, the shooting guard out of Michigan. He started out the season, but actually listed as small forward because of his 6'8" size. Move the shooting guard just because he's not built as big. He was listed as a potential like late lottery pick at the beginning of the season. Fell a bit, didn't have as many good games. His 3 point shooting is 37%, 14.2 points per game. Would provide great spacing and great wing size off Boston's bench. But Boston also has a lot of young guys on their team. I know I can personally say I talked to them a couple of times about
Yeah.
Kuminga and Kenyon Martin, trying to pry those guys from there because I'm big fans of both. So if they end
Yeah.
up not keeping one of them, I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from Martin over Kuminga at some point. Jet Howard would be a solid shooting threat for them, especially with them having Darius Garland as such an amazing playmaker.
Yeah, their backcourt. I mean, they're set. They're 1, 2, and 3. Jason Tatum and all that. Toby is drafted historically very, very well in the past. I actually have them taking Noah Clowney just because I think they could use big man depth, and at this point, a rim protector like Clowney would probably help them, especially with. I mean, they're dead eye shooters. I mean, their top two guys, Garland and Tatum. I mean, having a guy down there that kind of, in a way, will get create floor spacing. Um, Not the best shooter and all that, like, but I think this defensive presence
Yeah,
would
I'm not
complement
honestly all
that
that
too.
worried about Boston's size in the front court. You got Tatum, he can play power forward if needed.
Yeah.
You got Sengun, you got Martin, he can play power forward. You got
Mhm.
Sohan, he's a power forward. You got Advia, he can play power forward. You got Wiseman, you got Kaminga, who can play power forward. I mean, these guys in a pinch can play those positions or
But yeah,
normal, even though most of them are small forwards. I mean, I'm not
yeah,
entirely that worried, which is why I more so go shooting
to
over
shoot, yeah,
size, guard
and I can
over
see that.
size.
Yeah,
Is
I was just thinking because now that we made that change, that 15% thing, I think Clowney would just be slotted as a center because you're not going to have Tatum. Tatum will probably do the 5 and the 4.
that
But some of these other guys like the Kamingas and all that, I don't know where they're going to be slotted. I'm pretty excited and in a way kind of concerned at the same time for
that
this
that
new
that stupid
rule
ass
change.
15% rule is the reason why I'm
Yeah,
moving.
so that
I'm
that's I
starting him at the power forward and moving Jabbar to the three.
yeah, and that's why I slotted Clowney here. I'm like, well, they need that backup center
And
at the very
Clowney's
least. I
gonna
don't
be
think.
he's gonna be good.
Yeah, he's gonna be. Yeah, definitely. You can't go wrong. Honestly, these top 30 picks, I'm looking at them. I'm like, oh, if I was here, I'd pick him. If I was here, I'd pick him. Yeah. At 23, another Lakers. A pick, and this is going to be sort of a surprise. And only when I say surprise, because how low he's gone. And again, if we're talking last year, we're talking another top 7 player. I have the Lakers taking Derek Whitehead out of Duke. Um,
Mhm.
this guy, I promise you, aside from the injuries that he had, and tell you, he was playing with that bad foot. And I know he's having another surgery. I think he just recently had another surgery on the foot. He's going to be ready for training camp. But 5, 6, 7 years down the line, we're going to be talking about this guy. This guy is one special type of player,
Derek
and
White.
I think coming out of the his high school class, I think he was top 3. I believe he was. If he wasn't number 1, I think he was
He
at least
was
top 3.
somewhere in that top 10. I know that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I have Whitehead going to the Lakers also, but at pick 25. I
Okay,
don't have them. I have them taking your boy Kalobi at 23.
okay.
I have him lower. Just again, I think he's gotten too much hype too quickly. I think
Yeah,
a solid playoff run coming out of nowhere is kind of. I feel like people are taking too much stock into it. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the kid succeed, but I just he's a solid scorer though, so
yeah.
provide scoring and whatnot off of Lakers bench after the rumors of it could be completely depleted. Um, yeah, I think Colby makes sense as a size shooter with his solid split. So
Yeah, I do have Kobe going as well in the first round, but not this high, unfortunately. At 24, we have Milwaukee. Who do you have them picking?
I had them taking Rupert, the
Okay.
kid from New Zealand.
Yeah.
Um, Milwaukee just finished off a very good playoff run, made it to the conference finals out east.
Yeah.
So congrats to them on that, despite how not ending how they wanted. Um, for them though, the back end of their roster, the majority of their rotation, all those guys are 30 or older. They're on expiring contracts. They're old, while their starters are all young and whatnot. So you kind of would want
Yeah.
to keep up with that tradition of. I mean, they got SGA, Turner, Miles, OG. All those guys are what 27 or younger.
So in the prime,
You
yeah,
take
but
out
you're right.
Turner 25 younger. Ryan
Yeah.
Ruger, I think best player available age wise. He can shoot, he can score. He's got good handles for being six
Mhm.
foot seven. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to take him and then potentially just if he develops right over a year or two, you got
Yeah.
yourself a massive guard to pair next to SGA.
Oh, I totally agree. I had them. This is where I had again a guy that, in my opinion, I'm looking at. I'm like, how did he fall? I mean, I'm so high on the first round. I mean, I have a big board that's about 37 deep. So 7 picks, even in the second round, I think are first round material. But I have them taking Chris Murray here in Milwaukee, and I would think Daz, who's an excellent one of the great GMs I've known for a long, long while, even at the other league. Um, Historically, Daz, drafts very well as well. He's always year in year out competing, and I think if Murray falls here, to him, if Root Pair falls to him, like you said, I think he'd be very excited for sure. At 25, I have the Lakers. This is where I have one of the biggest fallers, and I'm really high on. We talked about him a little while ago. This is where I have GG Jackson going to the Lakers. Based on what that size thing that I thought they needed, and you and I talked about maybe a rumor going on with the Lakers as well. But yeah, this is where I had GG falling 25.
Yeah, I like Gigi. I think he'd be a great fit off their bench, or even as a starter. You toss him with the power forward, he can start out. He can start out day one. I don't doubt that in the slightest. I have them taking Whitehead though. You're not wrong. If it wasn't for injury, I think he might be going lottery. His
Definitely.
numbers back the fact that he was injured. His numbers aren't good. I mean, 8.3 points per game, 2.4 in rebounds, but his shooting's back up lottery level talent. 42% field goal
Yep.
percentage isn't the best. 79% free throw percentage, pretty good. 43% from three would be the highest 3-point percentage out of any of the first round picks. And I think might almost out of anyone in the draft, besides maybe
Mhm.
like low second round guys that barely played. The kid can shoot the ball. He can
Yeah.
shoot the shit out of the ball when he
Yeah.
is healthy. If that injury is not an issue when he comes into the league, people are going to regret passing on this kid. You're going to go back. He's going to be top 10 pick 5 years down the road, top lottery pick 5 years down the road. The kid's going to be good. It's just that injury screwed him over, unfortunately.
Yeah. Would you be surprised, honestly, if one of our guys takes him top 15, maybe?
Top 15, I'd be a bit surprised. Top 20, maybe not. If he goes that, like, if the Clippers maybe, or whoever has those picks takes him like 18, 17, I wouldn't be entirely surprised.
Yeah.
It depends where he ends up in real life. But I think he's going to end up a lot better than where he's slotted right now. I'm
Oh,
on
yeah. Yeah.
that side
I
with
would
him.
love to have him.
He's going to be
Definitely. I would love to have him.
he's super athletic. If he can
Yeah.
just heal from that injury, right, he'll be one of the most athletic players in this draft.
Yeah, absolutely. 26, we have Minnesota Timberwolves for now. Who do you have them picking?
I have them taking James Nagy, the center from Barcelona. They've publicly stated that they're looking to move Al Horford, and they have for a while. They just recently came out this week saying that they're looking to move Jonas. I think personally, with the rumors and sources that have told me stuff, that them keeping Jonas would be a better idea, as then you could potentially form the best rebounding duo in the league with who they might be getting. Um, But if they end up moving on from Jonas, Najee, his numbers aren't good. He didn't really have a good season with Barcelona for the Barcelona national team. His numbers don't
Yeah.
stand out. Shooting percentage wise, I mean, solid for a big man. The reason why he's considered a first round pick, despite having really poor numbers, is he is considered by many the most physically gifted player in the draft, athleticism wise,
Mhm.
strength wise. I saw a highlight video of this kid. He looks like he looks like a monster. His arms are huge. His legs are huge. He's bouncy as hell for a center.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know if he did the combine. I don't remember whether or not he did the combine.
Yeah, I'm not too
His
sure.
measurements, from what I've seen, he's 6'10", 225.
He's a big kid.
Considered the third best, according to Tankathon, he's third best center in the draft. His numbers aren't the best, but he's just so physically gifted as a human
Yeah.
being that it wouldn't make sense for a team not to take stock in him for the future. Maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, you bring him in, he's your backup center, potentially starting center, depending on how that goes. The kid's going
Yeah.
to be good, but he needs time to develop.
Oh, I definitely think he's going to be one of those guys that will probably be drafted in the NBA lower, first round or top second round, but hopefully to a team that's going to be able to develop him for sure. No, I do like that pick. I rate Najee, like I said, he's in my top 37. He's not in my first round here. I did have him maybe going at 25
Mm-hmm.
if Gigi Jackson was not available. I said, well, another good one would have been Najee. But then after LA, I don't have him going anywhere in the first round. But I can full on support him getting picked here. I actually have the Timberwolves picking pods here. Brandon Pajemski. Um,
That's like my new favorite guy, Mister.
I've seen this guy I don't know why it rings poor man's giddy for whatever reason, man. But this guy is just he wants the ball. That's you got to have those guys that no matter what they're unafraid. You know what I mean? And this is a guy that, and not in a sense where he wants to be a ball hog at all. He just wants to have the ball at the end of a game, and you see that these Santa Clara guys are coming out, man. They're all special type of old school basketball. You know what I mean?
I love this Brandon kid. 20 points per game, 8 rebounds a game at 6 foot, at just under 6'5", with only a
Yeah.
6.5 wingspan, nearly 9 rebounds a game, nearly 2 steals a game, nearly 4 assists a game, 48% field goal percentage, near
Mhm.
44% from three. Okay, so I was wrong about Whitehead. He has the highest shooting percentage out of anyone mocked in the first. 44% from three. There's no hole in this kid's game. He's not great at anything, but he's good at everything. He
Right.
doesn't have
Exactly.
one great talent, doesn't have it, but he's good at everything. Defense, good. Offense, good. Shooting, playmaking, handles. I
Hmm.
saw a highlight video of this kid, and I was like, I don't understand why he's been talked about before. He went into the combine, played the combine scrimmages, and torched everybody. He shot the ball well, playmaked well, rebounded well. The kid might, I think, arguably could be the steal of the draft and steal the first round. I would not be surprised if we go 5 years down the road and they're like, "How is this kid not a lottery pick? How did he not get
Right.
higher? He's good." These Santa Clara kids, him, Jalen Williams, like they're coming out of nowhere, out of the
Yep.
woodworks the last couple of years, and it's just I don't know
I
why they weren't talked about before.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a kid that's one of those stat fillers, but he's going to also fill the stats that aren't talked about. He's just that scrappy of a player all around, like you just said. He's
He's
going to be an all around player.
he's a stat pattern, but he's a stat pattern in a good way that he can still make winning plays at the end of the
Yeah,
game.
yep, yep. But he's going to chase after balls, dive after balls. He's just one of those guys, man.
Putting his body
Special,
on the
special guy.
line.
Yeah. At 27, we got Memphis. This is where I have, and it's just going to be because Memphis is such a stacked team. Um, and that's a testament to the way Rootsy has always been. I've known Rootsy since the other league as well. Um, but I have him picking at best player available at this point, and I have Jet Howard dropping to 27. So that's where I have Howard. I know you had him a little bit higher than that, but yeah, that's where I have. Who you got for 27?
I have them taking Maxwell Lewis, the
Okay.
wing out of Pepperdine.
Hmm.
Very good back half of the season. I had a specific stat from him. In mid season, he had 7 straight games with 20 plus points in a row. That's pretty hard to do in college.
Yep.
They
Yep.
don't have a real wing. So their starting five, from what I can tell, is Hero, Jackson, Adebayo, Beal, and Brown. And then you got Anderson and Robinson off your bench, and then Milton, Carter, Maxi Kleber. They don't have a real. He has Zari Williams, but he's probably still another year or two down the road
Hmm.
before making real impact. Maxwell, they don't have a real three, a real small forward behind Jaylen Brown to come off the bench and provide anything. That's where Maxwell Lewis can come in. He can score the ball. He can shoot the ball. 6'7", solid defensive player, all good all around game. I watched him play, and I'm like, this is one of those guys that could potentially become an all star out of nowhere. And I haven't said that about anyone else. This is one of those guys. It's like he's like a Jimmy Butler or Draymond Green. It's like
Hmm.
3 or 4 years down the road, he's playing at our all star level, and you're like, why did he go this low? It's like
Yeah.
because of his game at the time. He's good at everything, but it's all underdeveloped, in my opinion.
Right. Like Butler, that's a good example. Butler, drafted a little bit later. But yeah, definitely, I can see that. 28, we have the Knicks, and we got 3 more picks to go.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you have them picking?
I had the Knickerbockers taking Colby Jones, the shooting guard out of Xavier. They don't have really good guard depth right now. They could
Mhm.
really use guard depth. He has a solid all-around game of scoring, defense, and playmaking. I think it was above 4 in every category. And I think it was about 15-something points for scoring. Um, you can make the argument of Jones at the gate, despite being picked this low, of being the 6th man out the gates
Mhm.
for New York.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising in the slightest at all, or maybe even being the starting two. They don't have. I mean, well, they got Kawhi Leonard, and he started the shooting guard, but it's like,
But for how long?
yeah.
I have a
And
feeling. I
don't
have a
they want to move
feeling.
anybody? He talked about potentially moving DeMar DeRozan. That
Yeah.
would put Randall back at the 4, Kawhi back at the 3. I think they
Yeah.
need to go guard here, and I think Colby Jones is the best guard available.
No, I can see that. I can see it. Now this is where I have one pick later. I have Maxwell Lewis going to the Knicks. Like everything you said about him just a little while ago, I think he'd be. It's one of those. When we're coming down to the last picks. You're just like, well, who's best available at this position? At this point, at 29, I have the last Clippers pick if they do keep him for the first round, and again, a guy that I on my big board I have him at 35, but I'm
Ooh.
having these guys pick him at 29. City Sissoko. Uh, I think he's gonna, one of those guys that's a raw talent, not totally gonna be an impact player first, second year, but one of those guys that you may just wind up seeing progressively just get better and better.
Yeah,
Each
there's an improvement every year.
right.
It's not necessarily there now. The talent's there now, but it can in like maybe 2 or 3 years down the road. Um, I have them taking Noah Clowney. Um, my reason for it is that again, size is their biggest issue. They don't have
Yeah,
a real true center. Clowney himself isn't a real center. He's definitely more of a power forward.
he's built like a power
He's
forward. Yeah,
built like
he
a
doesn't
power
have that.
forward, but he plays a bit like a center.
Yeah,
So if you want to have him as a small ball five or keep Paolo at the five and have him be your four, you can do that. Um, he doesn't have good shooting numbers, but he is able to shoot it, so that could provide them to
yeah,
potentially go like a five out next year if you play Paolo at the center with his shooting numbers,
yeah, yeah.
and so he'll at least keep defenses honest.
I totally agree. I mean, like I said, that I like that pick. I had him going up a little bit higher. Yeah, like I said, Clowney at least definitely going to keep that offensive honest. Being a rim protector the way he is. At 30, the last pick of the first round, and the last pick we'll discuss today, Golden State Warriors. Who do you have them picking?
I have them taking our boy from Santa Clara, Brandon Podsminski. Um, I know I sang his high praises earlier, and you had him going a bit higher. The only
Yeah,
reason I have him a bit lower is that despite how good he is, he didn't show up until the combine. His
yeah,
name didn't start getting floated around, talked about as much as it is now until the combine when he just went in and torched everybody. I,
yeah,
I don't think it's given him enough time to really show on the national level how good of a player he is. Um, do I think he's a first round pick? Yes. I also think he fits Golden State good because I know for a fact that Golden State has been looking to potentially move Levine. I know they've talked to certain teams. I know for a fact I talked to them about a week straight. Couldn't get him to budge with the offer I made for Levine. Really wanted him, couldn't get him. I think Brandon would be good as a potential Levine replacement or even just to come
yeah.
off the bench for them because their bench unit isn't entirely the best, especially with them looking to move Chris Milton too.
Right. I think something happened here. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. For whatever reason, something just happened. And I just glitched out again for whatever reason. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping you take that. But at least you have the pick, and if it's still recording this, I don't see I don't see the movement coming on. But I had them going Kobe Jones. There's another best player available. I know you had him picked up a little bit higher than that,
I had him
but
going to the
I
Knicks.
think it took your pick at least. It still recorded it, which is a good thing. But anyway, guys, that's what we have. Thanks, Yeet, for joining. This is what I call the Boozers Club podcast. Um, Normally we cracking open beers and stuff like that, but I just wanted to get this out
I
of
don't
the
know why
way.
you didn't tell me. I got a
No,
couple
I'm just
different
saying
cans of
because
Michelob
you
in the
had stuff to
fridge. I could
do.
have went and grabbed one right now.
But now it was great talking to you, Yeet. Again, NSL guys, we're let's say a couple of weeks out from the NSL draft. I know the NBA draft is next Thursday. It is not this coming Thursday, the Thursday after 22nd. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see where these guys go. I'm going to be so happy for each and every one of them. One through, I would say normally 1 through 60, but I think there's some forfeit picks, so it's going to be 1 through 58, I believe. There's only 58 guys getting
Gosh
drafted this year.
darn tampering.
Yes,
Gosh
yes,
darn
don't do
tampering.
that. But Yeet, man, it's been a pleasure. We will do this again. Absolutely, if we can find some other topics to discuss. By all means, I know myself and Craig are going to be starting, a normal weekly podcast here where we're going to kind of do the old, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp type of thing. Like a debating show, whatever.
Oh, no,
Um,
show doesn't go on anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah,
Now
no, yeah, Shannon's gone.
Dan's
There's one
gone.
replacement. So I don't like looking at first take ever because there's two people in there. Like I can't not can't stand them, but like Stephen A. Smith and Molly, I just hate their takes on everything. Molly's like a bump on the log. Honestly, what does she know about anything? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to disparage anybody on what they do for a living. But like I said, man, it's been a pleasure, Eat, and we'll do this again.
Awesome. No, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right, brother.
See ya.
Bye bye.